King Combs came out with, where he was coming at 50 and coming at everybody, coming at his dad. Like, how you feel about that record?
Well, first,
in a strong warning aimed at King Combs, Gandil cautioned him about the dangers of disrespecting someone like 50 Cent, emphasizing the serious consequences that could arise from such actions. He made it clear that taking shots at powerful figures is not a game and should not be taken lightly. Gandil warned that the new generation might not fully grasp the gravity of provoking someone with the stature and reputation of 50 Cent, stressing that this kind of behavior could lead to real problems down the line. "You don't sin or let a boy do a man's job," Gandil remarked, advising King Combs to reconsider the kind of attention he seemed to be seeking. "I don't know if he needs that type of attention or if he's just craving it, but 50 is the wrong person to be doing that with." He made reference to Waka Flocka's infamous words, "Go hard in the paint."
Lightly.
you don't sin or let a boy do a man's job.
Understanding the ramifications. Additionally, Gandil cautioned King Combs about the federal government scrutiny, specifically mentioning the Southern District of New York. He reminded him that these authorities are not to be trifled with, as they have both the resources and the resolve to make life difficult for those who cross them. He pointed out how King Combs' recent comments might have unintentionally triggered leaks to the press, including rumors about a federal raid that may have mistakenly overlooked a property allegedly tied to Diddy. Gandil believed King's comments about the raid were nothing short of reckless, suggesting that his attempt to make light of the situation could have backfired. "You think you're making a joke, but that type of talk gets the feds moving. They know every property that's tied to Diddy. Trust me, if there's any connection to Bad Boy, they're on it," he warned. Gandil's lengthy experience in law enforcement, spanning 27 years, gave him a keen understanding of how investigations work.
I don't know if he needs that type of attention or he wants that.
And the feds are quick to act. King Combs' comments seemed to have hit a nerve, with authorities possibly using his words to fuel further investigations, including the much-discussed raids in New York, LA, and Miami. The seriousness of these raids, paired with King Combs' reckless behavior, made him a target for potential fallout. "You don't agitate a lion with a pork chop, and that's exactly what he did," Gandil said, pointing out the catastrophic consequences of taunting such powerful figures. The media quickly latched onto the story, especially when a video surfaced showing Diddy allegedly assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassie shortly after arriving at Manhattan's federal court. The timing of the video and the events surrounding it raised eyebrows, fueling the speculation that King Combs might have played a role in it coming to light. Some believed his comments about a raid that missed a nearby house owned by his father only added fuel to the fire, possibly triggering further leaks. Meanwhile, the charges against King Combs, a prominent figure in the entertainment world, finds himself entangled in a complex web of legal troubles as federal authorities continue their investigation into the actions of his father, Sean Diddy Combs. The Combs family is facing serious allegations, with Christian King Combs reportedly playing a role in the disturbing events that have unfolded over the past months. Diddy, unveiled in the unsealed indictment, were anything but trivial. The document revealed that Diddy faced multiple serious charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and forced labor, dating back to at least 2008. The indictment described Diddy as using his business empire to carry out these criminal activities, including coercion and the trafficking of individuals for sexual exploitation. It also suggested that Diddy used recordings of these events as a means to maintain control over those involved, threatening to ruin careers if they spoke out. While King Combs sat quietly reading through the 14-page indictment, his silence spoke volumes about the gravity of the situation. He was now entangled in a scandal that seemed far beyond his control, surrounded by accusations that threatened to upend everything tied to his family's legacy. His presence in the court only highlighted how deep the investigation went, as even he could not escape the implications of his father's alleged crimes. The indictment detailed how Diddy orchestrated these events with precision, making sure everything was meticulously planned and recorded. The prosecution alleged that Diddy used these recordings as leverage, employing them to intimidate and manipulate those involved in his illicit activities. Controlled substances were also reportedly provided to participants, further complicating the already tangled web of criminal activity that Diddy had allegedly been involved in. As the case continued to unfold, it became clear that King Combs' actions might have put him in an even more precarious position. With the media buzzing and the feds watching closely, it was only a matter of time before his involvement in this drama reached its peak. The lessons Gandil tried to impart were clear: provoking powerful figures like 50 Cent and making careless comments in the midst of a federal investigation was a dangerous game to play. Now King Combs was facing the consequences, and the full weight of his father's legal troubles might soon crash down on him as well. The scope of these charges, which include RICO conspiracy, sex trafficking, and other serious offenses, highlights the involvement of not just Sean Combs, but also his business associates, family members, and employees. Allegedly, a number of individuals, including top executives, personal assistants, security staff, and household workers, were complicit in orchestrating freak-offs, highly orchestrated gatherings linked to sex trafficking activities. These events, often held in lavish hotel suites, involved a wide range of illicit activities, including booking rooms stocked with baby oil, lubricants, and other materials. When the rooms were damaged, the staff would clean up the mess, ensuring that everything stayed under wraps. Victims and commercial sex workers were allegedly transported to these events, where they were coerced into complying with the demands of the Combs empire. Additionally, large sums of cash were reportedly delivered to Diddy, facilitating the operations of these illegal gatherings. In March, federal authorities executed raids on multiple properties connected to Diddy, including residences in Miami and Los Angeles. During these raids, they seized numerous items, including a staggering quantity of baby oil and other products linked to the gatherings. This revelation sent shockwaves through the public, further intensifying the scrutiny on the Combs family. Compounding the charges against Diddy and King Combs, the lawsuit filed by Grace Omari in Los Angeles adds another layer of complexity. Omari, a steward working aboard a yacht rented by Sean Combs for a family holiday in December 2022, claims she was sexually assaulted by Christian Combs during the trip. The lawsuit, filed shortly after federal agents raided Diddy's properties, alleges that the elder Combs was complicit in enabling the assault to take place. As these legal challenges mount, Christian Combs, the 26-year-old model and rapper, is facing increasing pressure. He is one of 3 children that Diddy shares with the late model Kim Porter. The legal battle surrounding the Combs family has drawn significant attention, particularly after the raids in Los Angeles and Miami. During the raids, both Christian and his older brother Justin were handcuffed and escorted from their respective homes. Justin, the 30-year-old fashion designer, has publicly criticized the way the federal agents handled the situation, suggesting that the aggressive tactics used were racially motivated. She posted a video from the raid claiming that in addition to the federal sex trafficking charges, Sean Combs is also dealing with several civil lawsuits, including one from Omari, who is seeking justice for the alleged assault by Christian. The case against the Combs family, particularly King Combs, highlights the tangled web of power, influence, and corruption that has defined their world for years. The legal battles are far from over, and the consequences could be life-changing, for the force used against her sons would not have been the same if they were children of a non-black celebrity. Despite the mounting legal pressure, Christian Combs seemed unfazed. Just a week after the raids, he celebrated his birthday in typical fashion, posting lavish photos on Instagram. However, his social media post was not without controversy, as he used a cap emoji to call out lies being spread about his involvement in the scandal. This defiant response, however, does little to alleviate the growing concerns over the family's legal situation. Meanwhile, Sean Combs remains locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, New York. This facility, often described as hell on earth, has housed notorious criminals in the past and is known for its harsh conditions. It has come under fire from federal judges for its unsanitary conditions and the aggression used towards inmates. As Combs awaits his day in court, the future of the Combs empire remains uncertain, with the potential for life-altering consequences looming large. Sean Diddy Combs' time in federal detention has been marked by unsettling conditions, and the reality of his imprisonment is much harsher than what he was accustomed to as a high-profile mogul. The Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, where he is being held, is notorious for its deplorable environment. Several former inmates have openly criticized the facility, describing it as hell on earth. One such inmate, who goes by the name Esco, described the situation as grueling. He recalled during a cold spell that detainees were left without heat, their pleas for help going unanswered as they pounded on windows. The food is reportedly terrible, and the overall conditions have led to congressional inquiries into the prison's operations. Esco's testimony paints a vivid picture of the harsh realities of federal detention, particularly for those awaiting trial in such a violent, under-resourced facility. Combs, whose fame and wealth once allowed him to live in luxury and host extravagant parties, now finds himself in solitary confinement in a special housing unit. This unit, standard protocol for high-profile detainees, is meant to protect him from the other inmates in what is considered a violence-prone environment. It is a far cry from the lavish lifestyle he once enjoyed, and the psychological toll is undeniable. Combs has been denied bail twice by separate judges, and his lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, requested a transfer to a different facility, the Federal Detention Section at the Essex County Jail. However, the court has deferred to the Bureau of Prisons, which has kept Combs in solitary for his own safety. The isolation, however, may be the most difficult aspect for him. He is likely to be confined alone with minimal human interaction, unlike other inmates who share cells with roommates and are integrated into general population. This lack of social interaction, combined with the oppressive conditions, could prove devastating for someone like Combs, who has been accustomed to constant attention and indulgence. One individual with insight into the prison system, who has not been named, speculated on the risks Combs faces. He noted that the mogul, once living a life of extreme wealth and privilege, could find himself overwhelmed in such an environment. Imagine a man who has lived in mansions and flown across the world. Now, he's confined to a small 10-by-10 cell, deprived of basic comforts, he said. For someone like Combs, accustomed to having his every need met, the reality of prison life could be a shock to the system, leading to emotional and psychological breakdowns. Additionally, there's an underlying question about how Combs might navigate his time in prison, especially given the nature of the charges against him. His alleged involvement in a sex trafficking ring has shocked the public and raised questions about how high-profile celebrities deal with the threat of long prison sentences. While some speculate that Combs may attempt to strike deals with authorities or provide information to lighten his sentence, the reality is much more complex. Even if he offers valuable intel, as is often the case with high-level criminals, it may not spare him from facing a significant prison term. The criminal justice system, especially the federal system, is unforgiving. Individuals convicted of such serious charges could spend decades in prison, and at 55 years old, Combs would face the stark reality of growing older in a system that offers little mercy. At the time, the comments made by Diddy Combs regarding his lifestyle and how he threw extravagant parties were often dismissed as part of the party-centric persona he cultivated over the years. His public image, always aligned with excess, luxury, and social dominance, made him the figurehead of a celebrity-driven, hedonistic world where nothing seemed beyond reach. The idea of living without limits, of being able to break every boundary and enjoy life's pleasures to the fullest, was central to his allure. These statements, while often brushed off as playful boasts or part of the larger-than-life image he projected, now take on an unsettling significance in light of the legal challenges that have emerged against him. In hindsight, these once dismissed remarks now seem to foreshadow a darker and more destructive path for the mogul. The very lifestyle that once defined Combs, the seemingly invincible, powerful figure who could dictate the terms of his existence, is now being examined under an unforgiving spotlight. As allegations of exploitation and criminal activity surface, the man who once thrived in the world of excess is now faced with the horrifying possibility of losing everything: his wealth, his reputation, and perhaps most devastating of all, his freedom. One particular interview from 2002 stands out now, echoing with a sense of foreboding that's impossible to ignore. During this conversation, Combs was asked about his secret to throwing a successful party, an area where he had long held an untouchable reputation. His answer, delivered with the same charisma and self-assuredness that defined his career, was chilling in retrospect. You have to know how to throw a party. He detailed the importance of exclusivity, of creating an atmosphere of excitement that no one could resist. To Combs, this wasn't just about throwing an event, it was about cultivating an environment that radiated power and allure, a power that he had mastered over decades in the public eye. At the time, these words were seen as part of the celebration of Combs' ability to organize the best gatherings, to set trends, and to keep the world talking about his next move. But today, in the context of the legal battles he is embroiled in, they seem to take on an ominous undertone. His ability to create an aura of mystery and exclusivity that once charmed celebrities, politicians, and billionaires now feels eerily connected to the darker allegations against him. The glamorous parties, the ones that once set the tone for an entire generation's idea of success, are now viewed in a much more sinister light, with whispers about what truly transpired behind the velvet ropes and closed doors. The gravity of this situation is stark. Combs, the mogul who once shaped the cultural zeitgeist, is now facing the possibility of his empire collapsing in the most public and painful way imaginable. The future that once appeared limitless and filled with unimaginable wealth now seems uncertain, clouded by the mounting legal battles and personal demons. As civil lawsuits continue to pile up, and as more and more stories surface about the questionable activities that allegedly took place at those infamous gatherings, it's clear that the man who once stood as the epitome of success is now fighting to maintain even the semblance of the life he once had. What's even more unnerving is the shift in public perception. From a cultural icon who brought people together in lavish, star-studded affairs, Diddy Combs is now being seen in an entirely different light. The image of him as a visionary mogul, a creator of opportunities, has been replaced with one of a man possibly facing a future behind bars. No longer is he the charismatic, untouchable figure who could walk into any room and command attention. Now, he faces the grim possibility of being incarcerated, alone, isolated, and under intense scrutiny. The walls are closing in on him, and as the pressure mounts, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see how Combs could avoid the full weight of the legal system. The once vibrant empire he built through years of relentless work and a flair for showmanship is now being questioned at its core. Will he emerge from this mess unscathed, or will he find himself in the same position as many others who once thought themselves untouchable, only to be brought down by their own excesses? The question remains, will Combs navigate these treacherous waters, or will his future, once marked by the promise of infinite wealth and success, be reduced to a single, terrifying reality, a life confined within the hellish walls of a prison, the very opposite of the world he had once controlled with ease? The answers are still unclear, but one thing is certain: the Diddy Combs we knew may never exist again. There are growing whispers from insiders, including people with first-hand accounts, who allege that Diddy has been involved in darker, more sinister activities that go beyond the glamorous image he's maintained throughout his career. One of the most shocking claims comes from a former associate who compares Diddy's manipulative grip over others to an addict's reliance on a pacifier. They assert that Diddy's control over certain individuals, especially within his inner circle, was so extreme that it was almost like a constant need for validation or power. An analogy of a child crying when deprived of its pacifier is used to describe how these individuals, who've been manipulated and drawn into Diddy's orbit for years, may now be struggling to break free from his influence. The individual who's been speaking out describes how Diddy's control resembles an addiction, suggesting that some of his associates, likely those who have benefited from his power, are so used to him that their lives revolve around fulfilling his desires, however dark those may be. The crux of the statement is that they have been kept in a sort of cycle, unable or unwilling to break away from Diddy's grasp, but that it's time for these individuals to face the reality of the situation and live without his control. As shocking as these words are, there is an underlying call for people to come forward and speak out, especially if they've been victimized by Diddy's alleged behavior. This urge for others to come clean is echoed in the belief that if victims were to step forward, it would send a powerful message about Diddy's alleged predatory nature. The underlying accusation is that if someone like Usher, who has been in Diddy's orbit, could potentially be a predator, then the world could be more susceptible to such behavior than anyone previously realized. The focus is on Usher's connection to Diddy, especially regarding Justin Bieber, whom Usher helped manage and mentor. There is a growing belief that Usher may have played a role in enabling or even facilitating the darker side of Diddy's life. The suggestion is that Usher, too, might be drawn into the scandal, given the allegations of grooming Bieber early in his career. A particularly jarring accusation from a source claims that Usher played a pivotal role in influencing Bieber's career in a way that may have exposed him to dangerous situations. These allegations highlight how Usher's relationship with Bieber, including taking the young pop star into potentially unsafe environments, may have been manipulated by Diddy's influence. In fact, there's speculation that Usher was directly involved in transferring temporary guardianship of Bieber to someone with a far more nefarious agenda. This could point to Usher's own vulnerabilities within the larger scandal, with many believing that Usher may eventually be called to account for what role he may have played in grooming Bieber. However, these accusations don't just end with Diddy's relationships with others in the entertainment industry. They extend to a darker, more disturbing claim involving the sale of a controversial video, allegedly of a freak-off party, something that's been widely talked about in whispers. According to allegations, Diddy sold this video for an astronomical sum of $500 million on the dark web, with the purpose of hiding his own involvement and securing his position by providing such materials to the highest bidder. This act of selling such material is framed as both desperate and calculated. The notion is that Diddy isn't just seeking to protect himself from scandal, but might be driven by financial need, possibly tied to his own dwindling assets or the mounting costs of his lifestyle. This investigation has grown to encompass a vast array of disturbing evidence, leaving many wondering how deep the web of corruption and exploitation truly runs. As authorities sift through this evidence, the future of Diddy Combs seems more uncertain than ever, with some wondering how much longer he can maintain his hold over those who have long been in his circle, and whether his empire will come crashing down as the truth of his actions comes to light.